So why, when we talk about global footprints, why I'm talking about values? And one thing that we deeply believe is if you want to change something in the world, you also need to think about yourself and start by yourself, what your own agenda is, what do you want to change, and why do you want to change something. And that ultimately has always something to do with identity. And to make that very practical, I have 5 questions for you and a little exercise. And I want you to write down one word to each question. And so if you haven't have your pen and papers ready, get prepared. You just need, all that you're writing down is just for yourself, just to be clear. You don't have to shout around. You can use your worst handwriting. You can do whatever you like. It's just for yourself. And the first question is, very simple, what's your gender? The second question is, what is your sexual orientation? The third one is, what do you believe in? I'll give you a few more seconds for that one. And what do you call home? And the last one, what is the most important person in your life? Who's the most important person in your life? One person. No cheating. Siblings doesn't count.
You have to choose one child?
Yes. So now, you have another few seconds just to explain what happens now. Don't do anything, but whenever I say cross, you cross one word. Very simple, I repeat that. Whenever I say cross, you cross off one word of your list, okay? And you do it as intuitively as possible. Don't overthink. You won't have much time. Cross, 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 cross. One is over, one is left. Why is that left? And what does it say about yourself? All these questions have something to do with your idea of identity or our Western idea of identity. Gender, what do I call home, people, that has something to do, that says something about me, right? And some are super easy to cross off and some are harder to cross off. And that leaves us with the question, who am I and what actually defines me, or what do I believe defines me? And when I grew up, I was constantly chasing the next big thing, like most of us do. You finish up uni or first school, then uni, your first projects, your big travels, you're going to Australia, you're doing stuff. And like also most people, I got lost along the way. And I started talking with people about this rat race that we call modernity. Right? And these conversations that we had that led us to an amazing realization that we need that more often, and that we're lacking these spaces that help us to grow, to personally grow, and to define who we are and what's important to us. And I believe that we, as a society, we lack that too. We see numbers from suicide rates, burnout, depression rates are going through the roof. So people in general, at least a little bit, feel lost too in this modern society. And so what I tried to find during my chase was just the next peak experience, the next big thing, just an external impulse that was given by me, going to the next festival, going to the next amazing thing, right? And what I needed was an internal journey, not an external journey. I needed an internal journey. And we lack that, sort of, this idea of an inner compass, this idea that helps us to define what's important and what not, and calibrate an inner compass. And so why not creating spaces that make that happen, that help to define your inner compass, right? And so we created the first pop-up exhibition for the Museum of Values, we call it Museum of Values, because museums are in general a good space to make something happen. And the second thing, values, is something that's a good intro to your inner world, right? And we do that not by saying what's right and wrong, but rather creating experience that help you reflect for yourself what that means. So we don't say this is respect, but rather creating experience for you to define what respect individually means for yourself. And we do that by creating aesthetic experiences, embodied experiences. That means we just have more than this part of our body. We experience and see and react to the world and be in the world with our whole human being, with our whole experience, with our whole senses. And we try to integrate that too. And the last one is that we use intimate stories of people like you and me. So when you come to our exhibition, you see stories from people like you and me, from regular people. They share their stories in audio and writing through objects, and you get an entirely different feeling of what that means. And that led us to work with a lot of kids, doing exhibitions with neighborhoods, with regions, and in smaller parts with countries. But also work with industry leaders, with doing workshops with people on their own internal worlds and how to react and be in that world. And so what I want to give you for tonight are 3 things as a takeaway. So our exhibitions are always based on 3 basic elements: open your heart, explore with your feet, and reflect. Open your mind, explore with your feet, and reflect from your heart. So open your mind to maybe a world that's not just externally given, but an internal world, and acknowledge that. Explore with your feet. So exploring your inner compass in relation to the world around you, to the map that we have, and not just excluding it. And the third one is reflect from your heart. So trust in something that you do, and trust yourself, and not maybe just following a weird construct of what it means to be a strong man or a caring wife, or all these metaphors and stigmata that we have in our heads. And maybe you will find that these external character traits that are defining us from the outside, that there's more to that matrix than just this. There's something that comes from yourself. And maybe you will leave with this idea of, or you may be as curious about this internal world as much as you're about the external world, because we all love traveling world. We want to see different cultures. That's amazing. That works. It's cool. But maybe you're a little bit more curious about the internal world too, because on that edge, we believe, between the internal and external, there's true change possible. And so thank you very much. And that is it.